Martin, I'm going to give you the floor to allow us to reflect on the relevance of bringing these issues here today. There's nobody who can better do that than you. We're so proud and grateful for all the work that you do, Martin, in bringing the reality to us through the media day in, day out. We draw on it when we look back in history to see what happened in all of those times that we study again and again to make the connections back and make meaning out of them. So Martin, the floor is yours now.
Well, thank you very much. I'm grateful to be here, and thank you, Miriam, for all the effort you've put into this and the many years that you've put into working on the Eritrean struggle and the wider issue of democracy and human rights in Africa, which is absolutely essential. I mean, just for people who don't know, this is where I come from. It's Cape Town, and I spent my beginning there fighting for human rights. And although I'm sitting in London, I still think of the same things. Now, I just think it's worthwhile pointing out the obvious, which is the context in which we are sitting here. You know, Eritrea, as an independent state for which Eritreans fought for 30 years, signed up to a number of agreements, to a number of charters, the most important of which, of course, is the United Nations Charter. And the UN Charter is very simple. It says, we, the peoples of the United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, reaffirm our faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of human person. This is what was signed up to by Eritrea. Or you take the African Charter on Human Rights. Article 5, freedom from slavery. How does that fit in with compulsory, enlistment in national service forever, perhaps? Freedom from cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment or punishment. The right to due process concerning arrest and detention. All of these things were signed up to by President Isaias. He chose to go into them. He chose to sign up to them. Where is the delivery? And that's before we come down to things like the freedom of association and protection of the right to organize convention under the International Labour Organization. These are things which Eritrea chose to join. And the question really is, how are they living up to them? And I think we all know the answer to that. The great problem is, in the African context, is that there is so much that has gone wrong. We only have to look at countries like Congo, the DR Congo, Equatorial Guinea, or Libya, which has been already mentioned, to show how appalling human rights are across the continent and the lack of determination by Africa's leaders to live up to the promises that they have made to their people and to the world. This is what they have done. This is what they have failed to do. And this is what they actually inflict on their own people. Let me just give you one example. As recently as 2023, the UN Special Rapporteur on Slavery reported that 200,000 Malians are living, quote, under the direct control of their masters in slavery. That's today. Well, to be honest, last year. But it's continuing today. Mauritania, Libya, Niger, you can still buy and sell people. Some of them, of course, who came from Eritrea. And this is an absolute human tragedy, which we cannot tolerate in any circumstances. At the same time, I think we shouldn't despair. We only have to look around us to see what is happening in Syria today, where there are hopeful signs. I don't want to predict the future. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But the working of the rebel group now with the former government, the new government saying that they will bring people to justice, not to instant justice by being hanged from lampposts, but to proper systems of justice. These are hopeful. We've also seen in recent weeks Ghana, Botswana, Somaliland, and of course my own home country, South Africa, all holding free, fair elections, ones that people can be proud of. Of course, you can point to Mozambique, which wasn't such a good result. But, you know, we had changes of government in Ghana, we had changes of government in Botswana, peacefully. This is what we require as Africans, as people who genuinely feel that we have a right to the human rights that are guaranteed by all the charters that I mentioned. The question, of course, is one of enforcement. How do we get the enforcement of those things which African leaders have promised us? How do you get them enforced? And of course, in Eritrea, it is extremely difficult to do it from the inside. I know that people have suffered for years trying to do it. And this is, you know, they remain in jail to this day. People who have never been tried, and this is utterly appalling. Outside of Eritrea, we have the kind of activities that EEPA have been undertaking. And we have now facing courts in the Netherlands, some of the people who've been some of the worst traffickers. Let's see what's going to happen there. But that justice does come. And as, you know, Martin Luther King said so memorably all those years ago, the arc of history points towards justice. And I firmly believe in that now, as I always have done my whole life. So thank you very much. I think this is a great day to remember why we are here as people who believe in human rights, who will work for human rights, and who will not tire in our efforts. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Martin, and thank you also for all the books on Eritrea, on the Tigray War, and many more, which make it possible for us to teach and to bring it to much bigger audiences in language that can be easily understood, Martin. That work of you and all of the journalists working on this is so incredibly important.